or communicate at any point in your day to day. And then also professional communication, where brands are using channels to communicate with their audience. It really breaks down to that. So think about your brand. What are they saying? In which channel? What are they using to say their message? Who are they talking to whom? And what effect do they want to have on their audience? So it's a really nice little simple way of looking at communication. So today we're going to discuss communication channels. And I just kind of found there's definitions for every one of these. There's probably like 50 definitions of public relations or content or marketing. And what I did was I sourced out the common ones, the most practical ones, because you could really look at it quite a few different ways. So public relations, and you've done your public relations module, is strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. So that's the broad definition from prsa.org of public relations. Editorial content, which kind of nests a little sometimes under public relations. Public relations personnel reach out to the media and have relationships with the media to get coverage for their brand or their product or their service or their individual. So anything published in print or on the internet that's designed to inform, educate, or entertain, and is not created to attempt to sell something. So it's very objective. It's journalism. It's the media filtering, even if light news or entertainment news, they're filtering it out to the public, and they can be doing that using relationships with public relations individuals on behalf of a brand. So anytime you see a news story, like a lighthearted news story about, I just heard one about the Toronto Santa Claus parade on Sunday, or the Distillery District Winter Village in Toronto. It's an annual event in November and December down in a certain section of Toronto. And I heard a lot of stories on it. I've seen some on the news last night. I heard some on the radio. So that's filtered out. Somebody at that organization has relationships with Global News, City TV News, CFTR, or Boom 97.3 radio, and they've reached out and they've said, "Here's our packet. Here's what we want to say. Can you feature it on your news? It's a great event for Toronto, and it gets people out." So that's really editorial content. Anytime you want to promote an event, and you reach out to your media partners to do that. Marketing. So marketing is defined as the action or business of promoting and selling products or services, including market research and advertising. That's a very, very broad definition of marketing. Marketing is very much the planning, the deciding, the figuring out who your target is, what your unique selling proposition is, what you want to say about your product, how you're going to market it. And then advertising is what you actually do, the promotion and the materials that you create in order to sell it. So the techniques and practices used to bring products, services, opinions, or causes to public notice for the purpose of persuading the public to respond in a certain way toward what is advertised. Good old Britannica.com. You can always rely on Britannica and a dictionary encyclopedia to have a great definition. So those are the four. Underneath public relations is editorial sometimes, and marketing and advertising. And those are the ones we're going to discuss today. When you go a little deeper, sort of pull back the curtain as to what's really behind and what's really used within the forms of media communication, you can see the public relation is image management, brand image management, media relations, reaching out to the media to get your positive voice and word across. Stakeholder relations. Stakeholder is anybody who has a stake in the business, who has a part of the business, either an employee or a shareholder. So reaching out to them and managing their relationships. And editorial content. Mass media, like again, within media communications outside of marketing and advertising, mass media is used as a media communications vehicle. So that's TV, film, radio, online, and news media. Marketing goes deeper, and under marketing is advertising. So you see that marketing and advertising are closely related. Sales, direct response, content, web content and strategy, blogs. Digital, online, PR, and experiential. Experiential is anytime you let people experience your brand. That's like an on-site or an activation or an event. Advertising under that, you have traditional or mass, which is the radio, TV, and outdoor, those traditional print forms of advertising. Then you have digital advertising, online, in the form of a website, TV or video, streaming spots or TV spots, email marketing. Definitely look at your brand, and on their website, they might have an opt-in page to receive email newsletters. You should sign up to receive that, see what they're doing. And social media content and advertising. And ambient, any kind of form of advertising that appears temporarily, within people's scope of living on their way to work. It's something that suddenly appears or is on the sidewalk or is a sandwich board or something that kind of is not there yesterday, it is there today, and it's an event or something, or even a poster that stops them, gets a message across. So ambient is another form of advertising. Think of ambulate, ambient around. Okay, just gonna check in on everybody. See if, anytime you have a comment, you can put it in. And I will check in on attendance periodically. Okay, let's get back into it. Going deeper and deeper of those categories I just talked about, if you look underneath those, again, we're kind of lifting up the sort of hoods and pulling back curtains on public relations, mass media, marketing, and advertising. If you go deeper into those, like actually what platforms they use, what actual vehicles they use. If you look at online, that's websites, video, social media. So this is a really good list for you to look at for your brand. Have a checklist of, are they online? Is my brand using, do they have a good website? Do they have a website? Do they use video? Do they have video on the website? Do they use video on Facebook? Do they have video on Twitter? Do they use editorial? Do they use online magazines? Have they fed stories out, or have they been featured in online magazines or news or online content and blogs? And sometimes blogs are influencers. So it's, they are writing authentically, but they're on the payroll. If your brand is doing print advertising, there are still lots of brands doing print advertising, especially outdoor advertising like billboards, or posters, or transit ads, still very popular. Are they doing magazine? They might be a niche brand for parents, so a baby magazine if you're doing Pampers. So look, or they might be a luxury brand, so they might be in the LCBO magazine, and that's the magazine put out by the Liquor Control Board at the stores that sell wine and beer in Ontario. So it's got a very nice magazine. There's a lot of niche ads in that, so people still do, for certain brands, print in magazine. Promotional material. So materials, anything handed out or given out or sent out, also in store. So if you went into Best Buy or Home Depot, there might be cards or posters that you could take with information, offers or information. TV and cinema ads. So TV, they're not similar. They're definitely a different format and different approach to reaching an audience, but TV ads, which is also online, and cinema ads when you're waiting for your movie to start. Radio, traditional radio station ads, and also streaming app ads. You'll hear those if you don't have the premium plan. You'll hear little ads come up. Digital ads, so banner ads, web banner ads, that includes desktop or mobile. Digital out of home, so the billboards that move and change and are lit. Digital in video, digital in podcasts, if they sponsor a podcast. Digital apps, do they have their own app with content? And digital if email, do they reach out? Do they have an audience? Do they send regular newsletters to their audience? So look at that. That's a big category for fashion and food, cosmetics, retail. So look at your brand's website, see if they email opt-in, and definitely tick that box and see what they're sending out. It's a big form of marketing, email marketing, very effective. Experiential is another form, which is live events and activations. So letting the public experience your brand. something fun, something interesting, something educational. Okay. So look, use this as kind of a, okay, I have to check online. I have to check editorial, print, cinema, TV. Have I seen any online ads, video ads? Radio, do they do digital? Do they do banner ads? And have they had any events? So really explore every category. Sometimes people stop at social media and they go, oh, my brand is on Instagram and TikTok. Great, I'm done. There are far more, as you can see, platforms to explore. Okay, so don't stop at social. So let's look at media consumption. A little bit of the theme of this lesson is media consumption. So this is a US stat from the United States, but I try to find Canadian stats as much as possible. Sometimes I use US stats kind of to make a point in this case. But the average adult in the US spends 10 hours per day consuming media. So consuming media is, either being on your desktop, your laptop, your phone, your tablet, and looking or listening to or watching anything. So how do your consumption habits compare? I want you to do a self-check, and you can use, I want you to think about your day before you go straight. People go straight to their phones, and there's a tracker, and there's a kind of a weekly report that you can get, or a daily report. And before you do that, I just want you to think of your day as of 8 a.m. yesterday to right now, 8 a.m. or so today. You got up. Did you wake up with an alarm? Started to play music? That's media. Did you go and check your email? That's media. Did you have a look at a video on TikTok? That's media. So if you did research for school on a website, that's media. So think about it first, like in your head organically, and then you can check your weekly report if you want. And be honest with yourself. Were you on the bus? Did you listen to Spotify on the way on the bus home? So jot down how many hours you spent consuming media in the past 24 hours. So TV or streaming, radio, movies, website, Netflix is media, website, social media, editorial news. So let's take about 5 minutes, and we'll talk and share boldly and bravely and without any regret how much media we consume. Okay. Is that clear to everybody? So do I'm just putting it in the chat, self check on your own media consumption. How many hours? Got down with an old-fashioned pen. First of all, think, what did I do yesterday at 8 a.m.? I did wake up to an alarm and a radio alarm on my iPad. So think about it organically first, and then check your tracker on your phone if you do have that. Okay? So I'll just shut off my mic and phone camera, and we'll discuss at about 8:33. We'll come back, and I do want people to either input into the chat or raise their hand and open up their mic. That would be great. So 8:33, we'll talk about our media consumption. Okay, we are unabashedly sharing our media consumption. I'm going to go around the room. You can either put it in the chat, like Natalie was brave enough to say, 18 hours. I think the record I've heard students say is, I think was 19. So you're getting close. So you spent close to 18 hours consuming media. You work at a sports bar and had a full shift. I have at least 8 TVs streaming different sports. That must be tough because it's this constant, visual and oral stimulation. You're literally listening, and at all points you can see things. So that must be. It must take you a while to wind down when you get home, like with blue light and those effects. So you probably don't go home, and you probably need to like sort of unwind a little bit, chill out, no media, right? So you have 8 TV streaming sports, and also music probably, I bet. I was just in a place and they had the same thing. It was one of those VidMcCools, and they had lots of TVs and they had this music, and it was just that slight, like just a little bit too loud. Didn't need to be that loud for, just to enjoy yourself. I wanted to go up and ask them to turn it down. So if work slow, you'll be on your phone scrolling through social media. Yeah. So when you're kind of bored, what do? You fill your time. Lots of media consumption. Yeah, in the 24 hours. So yeah, it's good. Yeah. So 18 hours is kind of common. So don't feel bad. And you have added media coming at you at work. So anybody else share either in the chat how much they consumed? Welcome to anybody who's coming in. We're talking about our media consumption habits. That's what we're talking about today. How much media did you consume in the last 24 hours on your phone, on your laptop, and on screens, any screens or listening devices? Put it in the chat if you want, or you can raise your hand to speak. I am going to go through everybody. So have a look and a bold look at your media consumption habits.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You can hear.
Okay. Hi. So
Hi.
actually, I would like to say that it's not even 19. I feel like it's 24 hours. So all the time,
Right.
it's like whenever I feel bored, I'm like either scrolling through social media or listening to music, or I would rather watch a movie. And yeah, that's it.
And what do you think you consumed yesterday?
So basically, mostly social media.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
like I don't even prefer to watch movies sometimes, but actually yes, social. I was on Instagram. I would say
Yeah.
that.
That's your major platform.
Yeah, it is. I'm like really active on it.
Yeah. It's very
Yeah,
entertaining.
it's like
And
it feels like it gives me a certain kind of pleasure. I don't know why. Like, and sometimes I do feel like I just can't stop. There are
I
times
know.
that I do
Keep
I do go
going. Keep
on zen
looking.
mode. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the platforms are getting a little flack for, like, Instagram is very much video, so you probably watched a lot of video on that, and a lot of them are getting flack for
Yeah.
all looking the same and all just focusing on video, and Instagram's lost its creative expression through beautiful visuals. So you probably did a lot of video on that. Same with Facebook. I mean, it's mostly video on that. Okay, so thank you for boldly telling us. You still haven't said your number.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to share? Want to open up their microphone? Okay. And Mika says, I'm going to go back to the chat. I spent around 4 to 5 hours on Instagram today, as well as 30 minutes watching the news in the morning. I listened to a couple of songs, so 30 minutes of music as well. Did not watch movie streaming service today. Okay, so that's about 5 hours. That's around 6 hours about media consumption. That's pretty good. That's conservative, pretty small a number. It sounds a lot, but it's a small number today. And think of what you would have done if you didn't have that. Like, 20 or 30 years ago, even 15 years ago, we weren't using Instagram at all. It wasn't around yet. Facebook was around, but and somebody last week in another class, we did this, and they were talking about how they listen to streaming on the bus and they watch videos or they game or whatever. And I said, imagine in the old days what you would have done. Like people just sat there. Either if you could read on a bus, you could read. I can't. I get a little nauseous. Or looking out the window or having a little snooze. Like, what did we do? Like, 15, 20 years ago. You probably don't remember that, but we passed the time in our imagination. So now we have lots of media to fill up those empty spaces, those gaps when we're a little bit bored. And meanwhile, we're taking in messages, filtered messages of brand messages. Don't know it, but we are. Okay, who else is going to share their media consumption? Let's hear from Damilola Keshav. I'd love to hear from Yiting. Put it in the chat if you just want to put your number. We'll all share and feel better knowing that other people are consuming as much media. Let me think what I did. Yesterday I taught a lot, so not as much. Probably 3 hours on social. And that's mostly Instagram or Twitter. I like Twitter for news. And about 3 hours on TV streaming. Probably a bit more on websites. Google Maps, my favorite. That's me. 3 hours social, mostly IG or Twitter. 3 hours TV streaming and 2 hours on websites. That's what, 8 hours. That's a lot. And I still, taught 2 classes yesterday. So can we hear from other people? Am I going to put you on the spot? Who has not spoken? Damilola, Yiting, Keshav, did you talk? Anybody else? Anybody else? Put it in the chat, please, if you would like. Okay. Okay, let's go on to, let's watch. I've pulled out a couple of videos from YouTube to differentiate again, so you can look at your brand and say, what are they doing? Are they using public relations? Because you have to touch on that. Or they have events? Do they have editorial coverage? Do they have experiential? Do they sometimes address crises in the news? So you have done public relations module, but I want to this is a nice little video this person has put together. It's for their business, so it's obviously a little bit of content for their business. It's just a nice way of quickly differentiating between what is public relations, what's the difference between public relations and marketing and advertising. There's a little bit of convergence these days with these two businesses. They used to be more separate. They could have been in the same building working on the same brand, but there's a bit more convergence these days, especially with social media and digital. So let's have a look at this. I'm hoping it plays within this video.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Public Relations 101. In this video, what we're going to discuss is the difference between advertising, marketing, and public relations. I've walked into many client meetings, and depending on who the client is, I've been called all three. I've been called a member of their marketing team, a member of their advertising team, a member of the public relations team. But what exactly am I? The truth is, I am a public relations practitioner. And while the three fields, advertising, marketing, and public relations, are all complementary, they all support one another in some way, shape, or form, and they're all part of the family of communications, there are differences. And these differences are very important to understand, because if you're going to build a house, you don't just use one tool. You use many tools. It's very important to know which tool does what. So let's start off with some of the main differences between public relations, marketing, and advertising. The first one, the most important one, is that marketing and advertising, in more cases than not, are one way. You are communicating your message to the public through mediums that are shared, maybe by even public relations down the road, but this is one-way messaging. Public relations is not one-way messaging. It allows for dialogue, it allows for engagement, it allows for thought leadership and feedback, and that is one of the main differences. that it is two-way communication. The second main difference is that the proof is in the pudding. With advertising and marketing, the return is often sales. It's not always sales, it's sometimes reputation building, but more often than not, you advertise or you market a product to really sell it. So by the end of your campaign, you can actually see a return on investment, your return on investment on advertising. Public relations is a little bit different because the agenda is not necessarily to sell something, although it could be that, but the agenda is also to build a reputation. It's more about building a rapport with your audiences, with the public, whoever your audiences might be. Third main difference is payments. So with public relations, you often are paying the public relations practitioners for their service of corporate reputation building. However, you're not really paying for the deliverables in and of themselves. So for example, if a PR practitioner hooks you up with a TV interview or hooks you up with a press release that goes out to the newspapers, that goes out to digital portals, that actual press release is not what is being paid for. The service of writing it and sending it has been paid for, but not actually putting it out in the media. So there's a good chance that the media does not pick it up. However, with advertising and marketing, you're paying for that ad space. You're paying to be there in those portals, on those newspapers, on those digital websites, on social media advertising. You're paying for that. So you are assured that you will be carried. With public relations, it's not so much so. So in public relations, what really matters, if you're not paying for it, is the quality of your story. So an advertising practitioner and a public relations practitioner can both use televisions, but the way in which we use televisions are sometimes very, very, very different. Let me give you an example. So for example, advertising practitioners will create a TV corporate ad video. It'll be specialized for television, so it'll run the right amount of length. It'll include actors. They'll create a nice little TV ad, TVC as it's called, a TV commercial, and then they'll buy ad space. In return for the money that they pay, they are guaranteed that broadcast time. The way it works for relations is a little bit different. What we would do if we had a client who wanted to be on television, or if we recommended that they be on television to promote their views or to promote their thought leadership concepts, then what we would do is we would phone in. So we would phone in, for example, Fox News, or we would phone in CNN, or we would phone in RT or Al Jazeera. And what we would say is, look, our client has this terrific idea about, for example, public relations. The way he views or she views public relations is going to change the world the way we know it. Would you be interested in coming down or having our client come over to you and interview? If they say yes, then the conversation moves on to the next step. There's no money involved. There's no buying ad space. The only buying that happens is them buying our idea. And for them to buy our idea, it better be solid. Thank you for watching. Folks, I post new content regularly, so please remember to subscribe and like my channel if you want to put a PR spin on your future in the communications game.
Okay, so a nice little wrap up of the difference, because it can be a bit confusing, of the difference between PR and marketing. So look at your brand and say, are they doing PR? Are they getting the word out about their brand? Are they, if it's paid, it's usually marketing and advertising. If it's events and planning and or organic in a way, it's PR. So have a look at your brand and say, are they doing PR or are they doing advertising and marketing? And really look at what events they've done, what activations, what channels they're using, what editorial channels they're using for PR to get their brand's message out. Okay, so good little video there. It gets a little silly at the end, but hey, now I'm gonna put food on the table, right? This is a really good video that shows, again, the marketing strategy. Marketing and advertising, sometimes people say, what's the difference? Well, marketing is figuring out your target audience, figuring out how to reach them, how you're going to reach them, what you're going to do to reach your target audience, with what product. Marketing is sometimes inventing a product for, some say the true definition of marketing is inventing a product to fill a need that consumers didn't know they needed. So a great example of this is Tide Pods. Tide Pods are the little pods that you use for your laundry. So things like that, reinventing detergent to make it a thing that you need. You need this over liquid detergent. And Tide and Sunlight now, and everybody has pods, which reduces water content in laundry detergent. Everything it goes down to costs, so it reduces the amount of water in detergent, and in as such, it reduces shipping costs for these major companies. They're not shipping water; they're shipping actual like concentrated laundry. You add the water. So the story goes that Walmart influenced that and looked at their costs and said, why are we paying to ship water? So they have such buying power in the States that they worked with Tide and the major companies to say, reinvent your detergent, please, and take the water out, because we're not paying to ship water. So hence the introduction of Tide Pods. So that's a little anecdote marketing story, again, and the power of certain organizations such as Walmart to influence product change. Okay, let's move on and talk about and watch this video. It's really interesting. It shows you how marketing and advertising really have to take a different angle, especially with a younger audience, and go for, disruption is kind of the new buzzword in this business, to disrupt. We kind of get inundated with messages every single day, as you say, like you're consuming 19 hours. So Natalie, imagine how many ad messages you probably had come over you, and now they have on screen. I noticed during the hockey games, I watched the Leaf game last night, and you're trying to watch the game, and these little ads, strip ads, billboards pop up at the bottom, and you're like, why are there advertising? Like the commercials ended. Now I want to watch the hockey game, but now they're everywhere. The boards change. They've changed it so that the boards actually can. You're at the game, you'll see different ads that are permanent, but the ones that you see on TV are changing all the time. So imagine how many messages, Natalie, you had come into your brain, and you probably didn't pay attention to most of them. So in order to reach people, especially this is for a younger audience, Coca-Cola has to always come up with really inventive, almost disruptive ideas to reach their target. And you think, well, why does Coca-Cola have to advertise? They're like the biggest, they're huge, they're Coca-Cola. But there's always competition, there's always, criticism, too much sugar, their record of water depletion in certain countries, things like that. So they always have to market, they always have to present themselves as this soft drink that is a great way to share with friends. Never about the taste. It's always about, sharing, making memories, having fun, smiling. It is quite a bitter drink. If you actually analyzed it, it's quite bitter and fizzy, but they market it in a way that it's irresistible, and especially to different audiences. So let's have a look at this little video. It's a little bit, not longer, but it's about 8 minutes long. 60, what was it here? Whoops.
Hi, and welcome to Thought Catalyst. I'm Charles Painter, and today we're going to be talking...
It's about 8 minutes long. I'm just going to play it again. So just sit back and kind of watch. It's really nice how they take you through how they figured out how to reach a certain, much younger audience. Okay, let's go back.
Hi, and welcome to Thought Catalyst. I'm Charles Painter, and today we're going to be talking the marketing campaigns of the Coca-Cola Company. Coca-Cola was first invented within an Atlanta-based pharmacy by Dr. John Pemberton in May 1886. Initially sold at local soda counters, growing demand and the idea of making the beverage portable led to bottling the sparkling drink. In its first year, Pemberton sold just 9 glasses of Coca-Cola a day for 5 cents a glass. Since then, the company has expanded ever so slightly, currently selling its products at an estimated rate of more than 1.9 billion servings a day. That's the equivalent, every day, to almost 1 in 4 people buying something from Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola Company is one of the most recognized companies in the world, and it's certainly the world's biggest drink company. They control more than half the global market in carbonated soft drinks, as well as a substantial chunk of the somewhat larger non-carbonated segment. It owns 4 of the world's 5 biggest selling soft drinks, with Coca-Cola being the world's best-known and most valuable non-technology brand. Within its portfolio, the company holds more than 500 brands, Fanta and Relentless. Within these, they produce over 3,500 varied products, spanning from sodas to bottled water to iced teas and coffees. Despite an estimated 94% of the world's population recognizing across multiple geographic regions. As with many things in the world, ironically, the companies that are the most well recognized possess the highest budget for their advertising and public image. Luckily, this hefty budget allows Coke to experiment and get creative with their marketing, providing the opportunity to remind us why they're as successful as they are. Now, what is the Coca-Cola brand built upon? Well, it's this secret: training our brains to associate the brand with a good feeling, be that happiness, relaxation, friends, love, anything, rather than the soda itself that makes them good at what they do. Now, we're going to go through a few examples here. First of all, let's have a look at the 2015 Christmas advert. For many, the arrival of the iconic "Holidays Are Coming" Coca-Cola truck, it's a highlight of the period, building excitement for Christmas. The ad might be 21 years old, but instead it shows little sign of diminishing, as it brings out everyone's nostalgic side. The focus of last year's A Coke for Christmas ad follows a young boy who aims to spread the joy through giving Coca-Cola to those who are making Christmas a reality, including a dad, a shop assistant, and Santa Claus himself. Now, the important aspect of the advert is that it targets the whole family. The ability to provide the experience for the entire family is essential. The commercial itself closely follows Coke's primary principles in their advertising. Rather than attempting to sell a drink, Coke focuses on selling an abstract positive concept, such as happiness, family, and sharing. As we can see, Coke have become experts at selling these non-concrete conceptions. This year's video, like many before it, remains true to their core values that they use in their marketing campaigns year-round. Along with this, Coke modified their traditional formula for advertising, adopting a more multi-channel approach. Traditionally, video, print, and physical advertising were the focal point of Coke's festive commercials. However, this year saw the addition of Coke TV and social media via hashtags and a Coke emoji. This was an attempt to broaden their influential radius. Now, the next example we're going to look at is called Share a Can. Now, Coke's Share Happiness campaign has been one of the key pillars of their advertising machine. This involved multiple previous strategies, such as the Coke Hug Me machine and the hugely successful debranding tactic, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. However, the Coca-Cola Sharing Can may have successfully created the most literal rendition of sharing a Coke. The regular-looking can of Coke can be twisted to become 2 mini cans, allowing probably one of the easiest methods for sharing a Coke on the move. As part of the pilot project, Coke distributed its sharing can to thirsty Singaporeans and documented their surprised reactions. The documentary The Surprised Happiness involved the team accompanying the distributors, following them to areas where they knew there would be heavy traffic, and filmed people's authentic reactions. This documentation provided Coke with video evidence of the purest possible form of happiness, showing how people would react and the kind of power it has. Now, finally, we got on to debranding. As mentioned earlier, arguably the most successful Share Happiness campaign would be the debranding tactic. Marketing Director Lucy Austin and her team within Coca-Cola's South Pacific branch were delivered a 151-word creative brief that gave them free rein to deliver a truly disruptive idea that would make headlines and capture the country's attention. The resulting campaign, known internally as Project Connect, based on its ambition to both strengthen the brand's bond with Australia's young adults and inspire shared moments of happiness with the real and virtual worlds, it became known as Share a Coke. The primary concept behind this was the swapping out of Coke branding on bottles and cans in favor of 150 of the most popular names in Australia, allowing Coke to reach 42% of the population. This campaign was released and almost immediately saw a positive reaction, with unaffiliated celebrities buying bottles and social media conversation and media coverage blowing up as a result. Within that summer, Coke sold more than 250 million named bottles and cans in a nation of just under 23 million people. This overwhelming positive result led to the expansion of the campaign across the world, reaching more than 70 countries. As the campaign spread across the globe, over 17,000 names were used, including generic nicknames and titles such as Mom and Dad and Mate. These additional titles purposefully made the invitation more about giving a Coke to someone else rather than keeping it to yourself, and broadened the appeal and played to their core principles. The ability of such a revolutionary and notable campaign could be argued to rely solely on the ability to relate to the customer on the eye level. Lucy Austin suggests that the success derives from the use of our name, the most personal thing we possess. It's our fingerprint, our identity, in one word. It can't get much more personal than seeing our name, our own unique identifier, on a bottle of Coke. The campaign capitalized on the global trend of self-expression and sharing, but it did so in an emotional way. Coke's advertising team have released its fair share of interesting campaigns, some with more success than others, but few could be called an outright disaster, with the possible exception of New Coke. The continued pursuit of alluring and revolutionary advertising tactics by Coke is sure to assist the sales of their products worldwide, and will not be likely to go anywhere anytime soon. As you can see, Coca-Cola have shown that by engaging with their customers and not just shouting from the rooftops about how great they are, they're able to grow year on year and build a brand loyalty and a brand awareness that you just don't see in many other sectors. And it's a lesson that a lot of companies could do with learning. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more of what we do, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you again next time.
Okay, any observations on that? What did that make you think about how to market and marketing? Did that surprise you? Had you seen that campaign before? What did you learn from that, especially about branding and brand personality? Any observations on our video? Pop it into the chat, or you can raise your hand or turn on your mic. Observations on that? Pretty cool? Kind of boring? I don't think it's boring. They spend a lot of money at Coca-Cola, obviously. What are your observations on that? Just throw it in the chat. Anything at all? Welcoming comments. Oh boy, my mic was muted there. I was just going over the questions. Do you think this is traditional marketing and advertising? Thanks for letting me know. Do you think this is traditional marketing, what we just watched? Is it authentic? Or do you think the brand is trying? How does it come across? Voice and tone, brand personality are very, very important. Is this all that Coca-Cola did? Do you think Coca-Cola just does things like this? Or do they, do you see anything else around as you go about your day from Coca-Cola? The bottle itself is the most recognized shape in the world. One of them anyway. So they haven't changed it almost since invention. And my last question was, as I was rambling away to myself, has anybody been to the Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States? Anybody visited the Coca-Cola Museum besides me? If you ever get to go to Atlanta in Georgia, go to the Coca-Cola Museum. It's so much fun. It's so interesting. It's huge. One tiny little bottle of bitter fizzy drink created this brand, this phenomenon. And at the end of it, you don't come out in the gift shop, you come out into this big room where they have these shooting fountains. And then there's about 70 soda streams of all the different products from all over the world. Fanta, and I can't even name all those products that you saw, any pop product, and you can have as much as you want. And you usually leave feeling a little bit ill because you've had too much sugar. So anybody answer some of those questions? You think this is traditional marketing or advertising? This is how advertising and marketing is going, where we have to think of really disruptive and interesting ways to people. Do you think it's real? Does it work for Coke? Is it authentic? Anybody? My mic's not muted now, so throw something in the chat. Your observations on the video. Okay, let's move on. Actually, it's time to take a break. I'm going to skip ahead and then we'll take a break after. I'm just going to talk about our theory, which is what we talked about today, earlier on, as our consumption habits. And this is really good, a key one to understand when you go into media communications, media dependency theory. And it posits, I want to make sure my mic's on. Yes. So media dependency theory, and on the left, you see a picture that kind of exemplifies how we live today. A farmer in their field looking at their phone. Look at that beautiful view. Why aren't they looking at the view? So the theory posits that there's an internal link between media, audience, and a large social system. And the audience is learning from life, which is how we used to learn, is limited. So limited learning from actual real life. And that means they can use media to get more information to fulfill their needs. So even the farmer on the left, large farming, and even a large enough farm, not a mega farm, they rely a lot on artificial intelligence, apps to measure water and crops, apps to measure protein content in milk that's been milked from cows and how good it is, or how dropped it is, or how much volume they received. Everything now is relying on technology, and in a way, media and communication platforms, because they have to buy that technology and be marketed that technology. So even something as a simple farmer or a simple farm life has been affected by media. And in the past, a farmer would learn from their family, their father or mother, their grandfather or grandmother, as to how to farm, what to do. All those the learning would be passed on. And now what's happening is some of the learning is being passed on, but we're learning a lot. We can take a lot and be helped a lot by artificial intelligence and media and platforms and information. So what happens then is this perpetuate need for that. We can't necessarily, if you went on the bus now, or if you gave up your phone for a week, you'd find it very difficult, right? You'd be looking out the window and wondering how people did this in 20 or 30 or 40, 50 years ago, before they had phones to keep them busy and listen to music and watch things. So an extensive use of media generates dependent relation in the audience. So that's why you look at this media dependency theory. A great example of that is content and videos, or somebody talked about their IG or Instagram use. They were on it, they love the videos. So that, and them feeding that to you, means you go to it. You kind of, it's a cyclical pattern. You're always going to go back to that and not go to a book. I used to read, I still read, but I use audiobooks more. And when I actually sit down to read a book, it's more difficult. I like to just kind of sit back and take it in on an audiobook. So this is media dependency. And this is why content is so important, video content, because we know, our brands know, that people are dependent on that. They have that need now to consume media. And that's how they've grown up, and that's what they're used to, and that's what they prefer. So media dependency theory is really key in media communications. It's how you can kind of adapt and create content for your audience who's really just wants to consume media, right? More media platforms create dependency. And I think we've talked about social media being one of those, like Instagram, that creates more dependency. You feel like you need it. I feel like I need, when I want news, I go to Twitter. It's kind of going through a lot of flux and change right now, and I don't get as much news that I want. But I still go to Twitter to see what's happening, what's going on in the world, opinions and things like that. So instead of turning on the news, which I used to do. Okay, so social media is really a good example of this. All right, I just wanted to cover that and then just review what we learned. This is a shorter lesson day. Modes of media communication, marketing, advertising, and editorial, and the difference between PR. Actually, I forgot PR there. PR should be in there. I'll change that. The main platforms and media dependency theory, and how content and social media, and what we're doing as media communicators, really is, no pun, but dependent on media dependency theory. We can learn from media dependency theory. So I just want to cover off what we're doing. Okay. Sorry, it's kind of jumping in. So today's discussion board post, I'm going to look at I've been looking at your discussion board 1 post from last week, and I'm going to input some scores. But I'm also going to look at, if you started, you can input your discussion board post 2. This is where you're telling us what your brand you're going to analyze, or what you looked at. Maybe you have 2 or 3 in mind. That's okay. And a little bit also on the platforms that they use. We're a little bit of an early exploration of your starting into your media, your brand analysis assignment. What platforms are they using? The discussion posts do tie in with what we're working on every week, and your media, your brand analysis assignment. So it's sort of a little push, a little start to each topic, to each weekly topic that we work on. So the discussion post, I'm going to pop it up on my screen and share that with you so we can see it. It's in our media communications folder, module 5. And discussion boards folder within that, folders within folders. Okay, so discussion post 2 is visible. Always make them visible around Tuesday, so you don't post in the wrong spot. Or Wednesday, Tuesday morning. I'm just going to pop that up. and make sure this is where you should have already kind of decided and researched a brand. Okay. I'm just going to share that one for a second. Okay. That's up there. Good. So share your brand in the discussion post 2. Again, participate by November 22nd at 2 p.m. Tell us your final brand choice, the one you intend to analyze for your MC brand analysis assignment. You should all be doing a different one, and this is a smaller group, so we try to have different brands, so we have good sort of variety. So this is, you can comment and look early on in your discussion, or you can get onto the discussion board early and claim your brand in a way. Look at your classmates. If someone's already chosen a brand that you had thought about, you should move on to another one. That's why you should have a couple in mind. And in your research so far, so always read all the whole question, so you're answering. That's one of the marks is for thoroughness of questions answered. So once you've said what brand you have chosen, you want to tell us, have you found your brand covers most platforms of media? So do check this lesson, and that'll tell you the categories, the platforms. Were there any surprises? Like, did you think they were going to be on TikTok and they're not on TikTok? Or did you think they should have a YouTube video, but they're not there? Or they haven't posted anything in a year? So really explore their platform, their website, their online, their outdoor, their print, their editorial. This is where you start really looking at the brand. Was the most, were there any surprises? What was the most of the media usage you found? What was it? What are they using more? Editorial, advertising, marketing? Give some examples or forms of marketing used. And go back and look at the video of what marketing or PR is. For example, if they're using a blog post about stripes being a fashion trend, that's marketing rather than straight advertising. It's kind of a vehicle and a way to reach a target audience. The second one is the power of the media. And this is just a little fun exercise. I've listed a bunch of quotes about the power of the media. So we discussed all the different platforms of media, including editorial, advertising, and marketing. All of these are media communications. Below are some famous quotes about the media. Read and think about them. Choose one only. Choose one that you kind of liked and thought was intriguing, that resonates with you. Tell us why you thought it was interesting. Tell us what you think it's about. Do you agree with it or not? And for what reasons have you informed that opinion? One quote is a trick. It's not actually a real quote, so you might be able to find that. I want you to, when you do, part of the grading rubric has critical thinking and referring to either the lesson material or an external source to back up your claims. So that's part of critical thinking. So if you say why the quote resonates, what you think it's about, so do a little digging around the quote. Do you agree with it or not? Or what reasons have you formed that opinion? Find an external quote about what is being talked about. Whoever controls the media controls the mind. That's Jim Morrison, a famous singer. Malcolm X, Warren Christopher. There's all different quotes. Have a little digging around in the category and the quote, and include that. You're going to get full points on critical thinking if you say also this person says this and you cite the source, and that backs up my claim or my observation. Okay, critical thinking is being able to analyze, but also sort of show an awareness of the conversation that's being had about that topic and backing it up with a fact or a citation or a quotation. Okay, so that's due on, what's the 22nd? That's the Tuesday. It's two business days after. Yeah, so Tuesday at 2 p.m. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this one for a second. Go back to my lesson. Just go back to the reminders, and then we'll take a break. So I'm just going to reconfigure. Yeah. Again, every week we're working on a different part of your a brand analysis assignment. I ask you to use this time that's given. It's a big assignment. Don't leave it till the end. This is why we work on it this is going to be more than an hour. It's going to be almost an hour and a half that we're going to be able to work on it from till 10:40. An hour and 20 minutes. So please use the time. Sometimes students email me, it's due on the Thursday before the last class, and sometimes people email me on Wednesday and say, I'm really sorry, I'm kind of behind and I'm not really ready with my media, my brand analysis. So because you're given time in class every week and we talk about the topic that you're going to be working on, really should be using that time, okay? Putting it off and not using the time is just going to cause a little bit of stress near the end of the term. We want to just be done. We actually don't have time after the end of term. So please work on it every week. Okay. I think I have, let me see what I have what we're working on. I'm going to show you an exemplar assignment. So again, we're working on our analysis today. I'm going to talk to each of you about what brand you were going to be analyzing. We reviewed the outline in week 1 last week. So please have that. And if you have any questions about the outline, do ask. This is our chance to launch our brand analysis assignment together. I'm going to show you an exemplar assignment, and it shows you how, if you follow the weekly worksheet, or it's called suggested workflow on the outline, it's exactly worked and according to that worksheet. It has a suggested number of slides for each section. So it really, the person who did it adhered to the weekly work sessions and answered the thought starters. There's questions that are asked, the thought starters for what you should explore in the weekly worksheet. Okay. So what we're going to do today is tell me what brand you're going to analyze. You're going to look at, start digging around and use some of the resources that are on the outline, suggested resources and websites. Look around for what platforms of media communication are being used. Scan the week 2 discussion board or post to say what your chosen brand is. And then about 2 or 3 slides worth is kind of the introduction to this assignment. You're going to state your brand and its mission statement or category that it's in, what it does. Give a general overview of the brand. So assume we don't know it, even if it's something people might know. Don't call it for my assignment or for this project. Treat it almost as if this is a new client that you've won. You're going to look at all their media communications platforms and the message that they have on there, and you're going to report back to them. You're going to give them a detailed outline of where they are, what they're doing, what's working, what's not quite working, what they could do better. So treat it like a professional sort of deck that you're recommending. So don't say, I chose this and I think for my assignment. Okay, write in third person and like you're working on behalf of the brand. So state your brand and the category it competes in, an overview of the brand, the product category, the age of the company, the customer demographics, who are they trying to reach, who is their main audience. The place of origin, any historical anecdotes, like Coca-Cola started out as more of a medicinal drink than a soft drink. And check Wikipedia. Wikipedia also always has some fun stuff that you can find on anecdotes on. And then you're going to do about 6 to 8 slides. This is where you're going to then really disseminate and look at each media platform that they're using. So you're going to do 6 to 8 slides, considering the class materials covering different media and notes you've taken. Show us the scope of media used by this brand. So I would start with a big list. This is where they're at. They're using editorial, online and a website, social media, traditional radio, TV. So kind of list that as an overview. Check all the platforms discussed in this week's class and don't make assumptions about their usage. So this is where people sometimes, especially in this generation, I hate to say it, sort of say, oh, they're on social media. And that's all they look at. They don't consider anything else. I know I had a recent assignment that I looked at for a major store brand, and They didn't look at in-store materials. They didn't look at traditional advertising like outdoor, which I know I've seen. So you really have to look around and look for their ads, to look for what platforms they're on. So use that checklist earlier in the lesson. What media formats seem most active or interesting for this brand, and why do you think that is? So what are they using more? What do they focus on? Why is that? Who's their target audience, and why are they using that platform? A lot of this is brand analysis. So you're not just going, they're here, they use ads, they have social media. It's now, are they using it effective? Who are they trying to reach? And quoting back from lesson material or quoting from external sources is increasing your critical thinking score. I want to see analysis in this assignment, not just a big wall of a mood board of here's where they're at, you know. What's the least active brand in interesting platform? Show examples. So you can do screen grabs and I'll show you the exemplar assignment. Small captions so everything makes sense. Do they tend to use advertising, marketing, or get involved in more editorial based or a combination? So show examples of your brand's current media content: photography, website, writing style or voice, social media, graphic design. What video are they using? What style of shooting are they using? I think that's it. Now I want to show you an exemplar assignment. Anybody have any questions? You can put it into the chat. Okay. So exemplar assignment, and this is just, I can't share this, I can't post this. I don't have permission to post it. It's just to give you a good example of how your presentation should look. It's called a presentation. You're not a presentation deck. Again, I'm investigating timing and whether we would do a presentation because you do have a smaller class. Okay, let me just look at, here it is. Okay, I want to go back to this last slide. And some of this you haven't done yet. This is based on all of the lessons and week by week what we talk about you work on. So this is an exemplar assignment. And they've clearly stated the brand and what they are on the title page. It should be about 20 to 25 slides, no more. Don't worry about section titles, they don't count, but keep it down to about 25. They have an overview of the brand, what the brand is, and they show the website. So visuals will do a lot of the storytelling. They further go into who started, who's the founder of the brand, what their profits were, what they do. And then they move into platforms or media communication platforms. It's kind of reversed. What are they using? So current media. So they have, they've analyzed it and looked at it holistically and really examined it and said they have a blend of editorial and marketing to communicate their brand message. Focus on the message and the platforms, okay? Then they will break it down. Current media again, website, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, okay? And the message on the right side and their hashtags. Again, breaking down their current media, editorial and marketing. The editorial is featured over here, so they've gone and found stories about this company where editorial has been used, and their marketing content from social media. This brand used social media exclusively. So if they're using exclusively using social media, the next part is to focus on social media, the most active versus and the most interesting. So most active doesn't mean most interesting. So left is most active. It's Instagram, and the most interesting one though is their blog, and they featured the sort of pathway page for their blog. Then they're focusing now, drilling down into Instagram. What is it about? What do they feature? What is the message? What's the content? And again, what is the message? Dual message, sustainability and fashion, okay? Then their website. What do they use their website for? Do they use it to communicate their values? How does the website reinforce their brand message? Maybe there's some weaknesses. So look at it and say, it's you know, it's doing this really well, but it's not doing this. It's inconsistent. and doesn't interact. Then they talk about their Facebook page, and maybe it's no original content. They're just cross-pollinating and using the exact same content across platforms. Okay. They're talking about their different voices or messages. One is about fashion. Sometimes some is about eco-sustainability. So look at what messages they're putting out, the consistency, and drill it down to either one message or two. They have two messages on this one. This is something you're going to do in week 4, which is actually recreating or rewriting a caption for one or two of their social media posts. So you find one that you're not really keen on. This is not really great here. It's kind of too retail-y. It's not describing the image. And then what you're going to do is write a new caption. Okay? And it's right here for 2 posts. They put that into their presentation, the old post, and the new caption that they wrote, the student wrote. We're going to do transmedia storytelling in week 3, and cross-pollination, which is using different same media across the same executions across different media. So they talk about what's their transmedia storytelling, and we'll cover that in later classes. Further on transmedia storytelling and cross-pollination. They use exactly the same post in every single platform, which is a no-no. A little bit of like, what could they do better on transmedia and cross-pollination? So it's okay for you to say, I think they could do this, I think they could do that, they've lost an opportunity to do that. This is your input. And then in week 5, we will focus on media relations and a media list. Every good PR or media relations personnel has a media list of their brand and who they could contact if they needed to get the word out about